Walking slow down my own street. Strangers smile when our eyes meet. Doesn't matter at all.
Welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast, a show that celebrates the powerful truth that kindness can change the world. Every week I aim to shine a light on people and organizations making a positive difference in their communities, proving that compassion, empathy, and connection still thrive, even in challenging times. This podcast is about more than good stories, though. It's about real impact. Through heartfelt conversations, inspiring acts, and everyday examples of humanity, the Kindness Matters podcast invites listeners to rediscover the power of kindness as a force for healing, growth, and genuine connection. If the message of this show resonates with you, please share it with your friends and family. Each share helps spread the light a little further, because when it comes to kindness, the ripple effect is limitless.
Voice of the crowd. I see neighbors helping.
Hey, hello, and welcome everybody to the Kindness Matters podcast. I want to thank you, each and every one of you. Okay, this is going to take too long. For taking 30 minutes out of your day to listen to a podcast not about murder mysteries or true crime, but about kindness. It seems like such a simple thing, right? But I appreciate everybody that has taken an interest in this podcast and taken their time to listen. So I appreciate that. This is going to be such a fun show, everybody. Let me tell you about my guest today. Adam Schluter is an introvert with a camera and a wild idea. What if you walked up to strangers all over the world and simply said, hello? From more than 1,000 portraits in 21 countries to Monday night dinners that turn total strangers into backyard family, Adam's Hello from a Stranger project is all about proving that genuine in-person connection is still very much alive. Today on the Kindness Matter podcast, Adam joins us to share how a shy guy who was tired of everything being a text message turned awkward hellos into lifetime friendships, community potlucks, and a global reminder that the person next to you might just be your new favorite story. Welcome to the show, Adam. Thank you so much for being on.
Hey, thank you, Mike. That was a great introduction. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I wrote it myself.
I can tell. I love that.
Nah, hell. You're probably too young for that.
The last person still not using ChatGPT. Thank God. We need that.
I enjoy writing it. I like it. So
That's a beautiful thing.
ChatGPT, nope. So this is such a unique concept, and you are a self-described introvert, right? So what inspired you to start the Hello from a Stranger project, and how did your interactions with strangers change your perspective?
Beautiful question. I mean, what started this project was that I really had no other choice other than to begin it. And it really was not a project. There was not an agenda. There was not a goal. There was no social media. There was nothing. I literally went out in the world all by myself, and I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. But I am from the Midwest originally, and I'm the only one from the Midwest to leave. I'm very close to my family, but I wanted to live closer to nature. And I actually left St. Louis and moved down to Mexico. And I lived in Mexico for a few years and just had a beautiful life in Mexico. And I also was grown in the world, grown up with a family that took us in the world. And
Nice.
we didn't have any money. So our family was really funny, and they had a travel agent, and my dad would just say, book us a cheap ticket. And he didn't care where. And the travel agent would be like, anywhere? He'd be like, anywhere. And they would take us to like Caracas, Venezuela, when it was the murder capital of the world. They would take us to, far South America, remote villages where we had no clue what we were doing. We never spoke the same language. We had no idea where we were. We had no plans, truthfully. And we had no money. And so we were so happy. We were just a little family
Yeah.
bouncing around. And so we were kind of foolish enough to where we had to interact with the communities. We had to talk to the locals, and we had overwhelmingly 100% of the time, the world was always so good to us. So I knew this. So then it was very fortunate to grow up with that. And so when I wanted to move somewhere else, I chose to move to Mexico because I knew about how good of the people in Mexico are. But long story short, I had met a girl, and I had been through a lot of relationship issues before, went through a very bad breakup. And so I met this girl, and we were in our late 20s, and we loved Mexico, but just obviously didn't have the opportunity. We are looking for in Mexico to start a business and do some things. And so we decided to just drive around the United States. We had no money, very little money. We had saved up just a few $100s working at restaurants and to find a new place to move. And we really had no idea. We went 22,000 miles in a car. We're sleeping in the car and everything. And we found this town that I live in now, which is Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And this is 10 years ago, before anyone knew what Idaho was, and I didn't know what Idaho was, and I'd never been here, didn't know a single person. Truthfully, literally just driving around the country, stopped here, rented a house. We were so poor when we got here, we had to sleep at a free campsite that was about half an hour away because we had no money to afford a place. And then every day we'd come into town and we would try to, we would use Craigslist and try to find a place to rent, but also try to get a job. And I ended up moving into this home that I live in now. And we rented it and we couldn't even afford the first month's rent. And they let us prorate the first month's rent. And so they were very kind and let us move in and felt like we were millionaires. We, for the first time in about a year, we had a roof over our head, and we were starting a new chapter in a new place, and that was it. So, long story short, shortly after, she broke up with me, and I went through a very bad breakup in a town where I didn't know a single person, and I'm very introverted, didn't know how to talk to strangers, didn't like technology, and my mental health just completely fell apart because then I went into the first winter time in the Northwest, and
Ugh,
isolated, alone, depressed, no
yeah,
sunlight, thousands of miles away from my family. And I was 100% questioning if I should continue living, if life is worth living, if I felt so alone. I didn't know how to ask for help or support. And literally when I hit that wall, I come from a close family and I didn't want to do that to my family. And so I knew I had to do something just to terrify myself. And with all this knowledge I knew about the world, having lived in Mexico, I knew I wasn't alone. I knew it. I just knew that I could talk to strangers and talk to people. And so I knew I just had to leave my comfort zone and do something about it. And that's what I did. So I decided to, I was waiting tables at a local restaurant and I saved up as much money on tips as I could. And I booked the cheapest flight, the farthest I could get away, which was a terrible idea. It was actually the cheapest flight was to Copenhagen, Denmark, which was one of the most expensive cities in the EU. But I didn't really care. I was out of my house, I was out of my head. And for the first time, I felt curiosity and intrigue that started to help my mental health again. So, and on the plane right there, I thought, well, okay, but I still have to feel less alone. And as a way to feel less alone, I decided to say hello to strangers.
that's I don't know what that is. It
Yeah,
sounds
sorry,
like
that's popped up.
it sounds very romantic, right? This I'm just getting on a plane and I'm going somewhere and I'll figure it out when I get there. But that's what you needed to do for yourself, right?
Yeah, I
So
wish it was romantic. It was a
I don't mean like
literal
romantic,
save
like
my
kissy
life.
kissy, but just like the kid who dreams about running away to the and joining the circus, or
Totally.
something like that. So okay, and I'm kind of like you because I am kind of introverted. I don't let a lot of people in. I don't let a lot of people get close. But yet at the same time, and I saw this video the other day, and it's this little kid. He's probably 2, 3, boarding an airplane, right? And he's going down the aisle, and every single person he passes by, he goes, "Hi, hi." So while I'm introverted, I'm exactly like that out in public, right? I go to the store, I'm
Hmm.
like, "Hey, how are you? How are you?" Uh, but so talk to me about your process when you're approaching strangers, especially in another country, because I'm thinking that's got to add a layer of difficulty for their portraits. How do you build trust so quickly in each encounter?
Mm. That's a great question because that's something that, when I was starting this, I was so afraid to approach strangers because my
Yeah.
introversion and everything else that I thought I should come up with a script of what I'm going to say to sound poignant and like is confident. And so I made up this script. I would say, I'm photographing people all over the world, but only when I see something beautiful. And this is so beautiful in this moment. Would you mind if I took your photograph? And I thought, okay, that's eloquent and simple and concise. And what I found is that's really what I was doing because I was so scared. And almost everybody rejected me. Almost everybody. It was about 90+%. And I was blown away because I was like, what's going on? I have this eloquent script and,
Yeah.
I sound like I know what I'm talking about. But when you think about it, when a stranger approaches you anywhere in the world, me especially, you have a millisecond to decide, do I trust this person? Does this person want something from me? Are they selling something to me? Blah, blah, blah. And this happens in an instant, in a millisecond, and it's
Yeah.
intuitive. And so you can't really like make it too far past that. And I realized that by having a script, everyone assumed I was selling them something, because why do I have a script if I'm not selling them something?
Were you
So
reading from it?
no, I just memorized it. It was
Okay.
just like, yeah, that would be
Did
like a PowerPoint
Oh,
presentation. So what was really funny is I had no fallback plan, and I was still, really broken. And so I just got so beat down by all the rejection, but I really had no fallback plan. So I had to keep trying it. And I found that the more beaten down I got, the more vulnerable I became. The more vulnerable I became, the more I would just communicate authentically and compassionately. And then everybody opened up and would say yes. My rejections went from 90% rejection to maybe 5%. And I was like, what is going on? Because now I'm a little more awkward. I'm still scared, but like now everyone's open up to me versus when I had the script. And so that was the key. The key is authenticity, but really it's not something you can fake. It's intuitive, and
right.
so you're intuitively conveying to these people that they can trust you. And you do that without thinking about it. You do it through authenticity. And, naturally, though, it's your eye contact and your body language and stuff. But I'm not thinking about these things. I'm just meaning
No.
it and telling it, with passion and honesty.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. And over 1,000 pictures or portraits. What did you do with all
Many
those?
more since then. That was just from when we did the book, and the book was a few years ago.
Sorry.
Yeah. No worries.
What'd you do with all the pictures? Did you give them to the subject or?
I always give it to the person, and I always gave it to the person as a way for us to stay connected after. It was never a transactional thing. This is not a social media thing. There's no reason behind it. So it was never like I'm having this. And it was funny because, people would always say, would you wear a GoPro camera or would you wear something? And I always hated that because this is very sincere and very genuine.
Yeah.
And again, for me to do to feel less alone, but also it ended up helping so many other people feel less alone. And if you have this genuine, I think this is what's wrong today a lot. You have this genuine kindness, this genuine compassion, these genuine interactions, and then people look down, they see a camera, and now it's all transactional. The kindness is transactional, everything, and that's a terrible thing. We need
Yeah.
to really just go out and be kind and not do it for any ulterior motive. Not do it because we're showing people what we're doing it, but doing it just because we mean it, and that's what people need more than ever these days.
Yeah,
Um,
because you see those creators out there just I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah. So I just took the photographs and I would always share it with and give it to the person so that we could stay connected. Many of these people I've been connected with for many years ever since. I go back to see them sometimes. We have dinner sometimes. We all stay in contact around the holidays and send pictures. But you'll see I have a bunch on my wall here. It goes
Oh,
around my
sure.
whole
Yep.
in the place.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
most of them are just online, and then some never go anywhere. So it was never about the photograph. The photograph
Right.
was actually because I was so afraid to have these genuine conversations that I was actually hiding behind the camera. So I was making the mode or the mechanism to be getting the picture, but really that allowed me to stay more in my comfort zone because I was still protected and hidden behind the camera. And there's this very powerful moment when I was in Milan and I had been doing this for a while and I was comfortable. And I asked this gentleman, there's a bunch of refugees outside of the train station, and this gentleman sitting on the stoop. And I asked him for his photograph. And I had gotten in this whole comfort mode with it all. And he said no. And I was so exhausted and I had been running around and it was a beautiful photograph. But he said no to the picture. And so I'm like standing in front of him and I'm so tired that it's really awkward because I don't walk away and I don't know, my brain just shut off. And he's looking at me like, why are you not walking away? Like, why are you
Yeah.
looking at me? And there's this little moment of hesitation. And in that, he's like, what are you going to do with the photograph? Like, why do you want this photograph? And I was like, oh, let me tell you like what I'm doing and show you. And so he looked at me and he's like very intentional about it. And he's like, okay, fine. Like, you can take my photograph. Like, I earned his trust. And so I ran over to the side and I took his photograph, and it was exactly what I saw. And I ran over there and I'm showing it to him on the camera. And, I was used to showing it on the camera when people liked it or not or whatever. But he just went silent and he took this camera and he's sitting on the stoop and I'm standing in front of him and he's holding this picture close to his face, refugee, who knows where the family is. And he gets very emotional. He gets emotional and he looks up at me and he says, no one has ever asked to take my photograph before. It was so powerful in a moment. And this kid he was probably in his late teens, I would say. But then
Oh
in that,
wow.
you realize this kid is not seen. this kid doesn't feel seen by, and there's people around him all the time, that we all have all these strangers around us all the time, but we're not interacting and talking with each other. So we all feel invisible, even though we're surrounded by people all the time. So when that moment happened, I realized this needs to not be about the photograph at all. I need to get rid of the camera because I'm trying to be seen, but now I'm all protected behind my camera. Now this is really about the
Yeah.
genuine conversation. And that's when things went a lot deeper. And from there, really, really wasn't taking pictures of people. And I really don't do that anymore and haven't for a long time.
Wow. So what do you think that some of these encounters have, and I think you almost touched on it right there, but about loneliness, vulnerability, and the healing power of kindness. Do you think there's any lesson there?
Yeah, of course. I just want to make sure. What do you mean in the connections and the
Yeah,
encounters,
yeah. Um,
creating kindness?
is
And
there uh, did did these connections that you made with these people, did it teach you anything about loneliness and
that's all good. Yeah,
vulnerability
yeah.
and the healing power of kindness?
Yes, 1,000,000%. And that was the cool part. The reason this has been in so many countries and so many different types of places in the world is I really wanted to. I had such a. I mean, the first part of this project literally saved my life and really, literally taught myself that I wasn't as alone as I felt, and then I really could go up and talk to strangers and be
Yeah.
seen and ask for help. But I was curious, is this all over the world, and is this and so many people were sharing that they were lonely also, and this is 9 years ago. This is pre-COVID, this is pre-everything. This is like people are already lonely before, and now it's a
Yeah.
hundred times that. And I wanted to go around the world, and is everyone experiencing this? And a lot of this was in the invisibility and social media and stuff. And what I found was over and over, just that genuine face-to-face contact, even from a total stranger, was always overwhelmingly enough to create a deep connection. And in that deep connection, face to face, always created empathy and kindness because there's actual understanding. We're really listening to each other. We don't care. There's all our differences. We could care less. In fact, our differences create a better conversation, but there's no anything other than a genuine connection that always creates empathy and understanding. And so I think these days we're losing that because we're not seeing each other. We're not spending physical time with each other. And so it's easier to divide ourselves, but that's not the truth. The truth is we're so much more connected and united than we
Yeah,
would see.
absolutely. I agree 100%. You say, we're not seeing each other, we're not spending time together. That kind of naturally leads into this whole thing with you and the Monday night dinners because you decided to, instead of traveling the world, I just hit my microphone. Instead of traveling the world and talking to people, you're inviting people over to your literal house for dinner. Talk to me about
Yeah.
Monday night dinners. How did that come out?
Yeah, I mean, the origin story is, started in this house in a deep breakup and a bad mental health episode. And so I went on this trip and I went around the world and it saved my life and it taught me the beauty of strangers. But then I came back to this home and I realized I still don't know a single person in this town and I'm still completely alone. So I just said, I'm going to do the exact same thing in this town that I live in. And I'm just going to walk around and have genuine conversations with strangers. But then at the end, at each conversation, I'm going to invite them to have dinner at my home. This is what I learned in Mexico and what I learned in a lot of third world countries is that when they really want to genuinely connect with you, they always invite you to have food with them because that's such a pure way to actually spend time to get to know someone. And in
Yeah.
America, many ways, everything's fast and expedient and got to
Let's have
go and
coffee.
don't have time. Yeah, coffee and got 15 minutes. And that doesn't really create a deep enough, for someone to really feel seen. And so
Right.
I thought I'm going to invite people to have dinner at my home. Again, no money, very awkward. Didn't think a single person would show up. And I would invite just people in normal circumstances, like at a grocery store or a bank teller or things like that. And I literally didn't think anyone would show up. And 11 people came to the first Monday night dinner. This was about 9 years ago. And I was so surprised, and we had no money. I ran across the street, and we ended up eating burnt mac and cheese, and we had water and a broken picnic table. But no one cared. Everyone sitting around this table again 9 years ago, and everyone said, "I need this so much. Like I'm missing this in my life." And I was like, "If you need it, I really need this." And
Yeah.
so I just said, "We'll never stop." And so we have done them every other week for the last 9 years. We just had our 103rd one, and we've had over 10,000 people that have had dinner in my backyard since we started this. And we have thousands of people each year that come to them now, and
Wow.
they're still in my backyard. We have never made a penny. We donate 100% back to the local community. Everyone brings a side dish of food and a $10 donation, and 100% of the donations go directly to the bands. We have local music that play at them to help more introverted people show up. And so we give 100% of it all back.
It's like dinner and a show.
Yeah. It was a cool thing because, it was scary for a lot of people in the beginning. You don't want to walk in the backyard and there's hundreds of people waiting to talk to you. For introverts, that's
Yeah.
terrifying. So we thought to bring in music as a buffer for you can come and just listen to the music. You really don't have to talk to anyone, but still be around people. But as we know, many times you dip your toes in and maybe and then a conversation unfolds. It's a very
Yeah,
beautiful thing that allowed a lot more people to come.
absolutely. So, okay, now one of the things about Monday night dinners is you have a no business, no politics, and no phones rule. How does that shape the experience of the attendees?
Yeah, it's cool. We actually don't have a no phones rule. We've never said that, but everyone
Oh,
just gets it and knows it, and everyone just obviously understands it. That's why we're there. But I don't tell anybody not to do that, but everyone gets it. But the no business, no politics, no agenda other than old fashioned connection is just a main reason is that a lot of times when people do this, again, there's an ulterior motive. And it's like you're doing this thing, but it's really because you're networking or you're doing this thing or because you're
oh,
trying to sell something to somebody. And the world does not need another one of those things. We need altruistic, pure, compassionate things that it's literally just for this reason. And there's no other reason other than genuine connection. No one's making money here. No one's promoting anything here. But obviously at a time like now, all the division we feel with politics and all the differences we feel with each other, this is a place to not focus on the division and more focus on the things that unite us. But actually, those aren't hard rules. Anyone, who cares? You can talk about anything you want, but we've always found that you have 10,000 strangers from a million backgrounds and different beliefs. And I've never seen anybody ever focus on those things. Because again, you're having face to face connection and there's so much more to us than those things that divide us.
yeah, and I can only imagine that a no business, no politics, and it's just understood no phones, even if it's not a hard and fast rule. I would have to believe that that just makes, because sometimes we feel like we're under pressure, right? You were talking about networking, and
Hmm.
it seems so hard these days to not talk about politics because it seems like everything is about politics,
Hmm.
whatever. But I would think that that would make those dinners 20, 30, 40 times better if you didn't have to worry about, well, what if somebody asked me about blah, 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 the hot topic of the day,
Hmm. Hmm.
politically, whatever it is. And you know going in that you're not going to have be forced to talk about that or even tempted to talk about that, right? So that has to make it so much more comfortable.
I'll give you even more. I mean, even if, like I said, no one cares. Like, there's no one monitors or supervises. Obviously, like you're just showing up and
Right.
you can talk about anything you want. I would guarantee that these things do come up, but people are able to talk about them compassionately and humanly, rather than with all the polarization and all the blood. Because it's face to face. This is
Right.
why it's so important for us to talk to each other face to face. Because I could say, "Hey, Mike, I believe this," and you could say, "I believe this," and it's hard to like fight that like we could do over a screen. Whereas face to face, it's kind of like, that's really beautiful, Mike. I appreciate that. And where'd you come to that? You can have a conversation about it rather than this is my
Yeah.
identity. This is who I am. This is who I'm always going to be. It's like you get to be human when you're face to face.
So with 10,000 people at one time or another over the years in your backyard, can you share a story about someone who maybe found friendship or healing or a sense of belonging through a Monday night dinner? Do you have a story about
That's a big question, Mike. There-
Sorry.
no, no, that's I rather than there's so many of those that it's very overwhelming to me, honestly, to because I started this in a very dark place and where I cared very little about myself, and so to see this make such an impact in so many other people's lives, it's hard for me to process all of that. There's been so many stories of people that have told me that these dinners literally saved their lives. I mean, they've written it in our books. They write it on the things and explaining going through divorces when they had no one to in dark moments and mid 40s or parents dying and having no support and that they found the support there. Just incredible stuff. But there it happens so often. There's on the website is a lot of the testimonials that people just have easy full access to go and write, and those are the most important things. I would say the most important things now, though, that every bit as much to that, But so many people are using this also to bring their kids to, their
Oh,
teenagers in their, because their kids don't know how to talk to people face to face.
no.
They grown up in technology and it's really powerful stuff. When I talk to the kids and the kids are looking forward to coming back and they have such a great experience there because they're getting to learn, it's so funny, but how to shake someone's hand and how to look someone in the eye and talk to them. And they're saying how none of their friends know how to do this stuff. And to see that parents are now using this as a low barrier tool to helping their kids make friendships and have relationships is a
Yeah,
very
because
powerful thing.
it can be hard to talk to a teenager, right? And it goes both ways. There's plenty of blame to go around,
Yeah.
but when you talk to a young person, especially if you're a parent or a teacher or something like that, there's maybe they're holding back because they don't want to talk about that with. But I can see in a situation like this, you're eating, you're having fun, you're enjoying. I could see somebody opening up a little easier, and
Hmm.
it's so important. You're influencing a whole nother generation
Hmm.
and
That's always been the
introducing
goal.
them to humanity, communication.
Hmm. Yeah, and so much about just communication is practice. I mean, that's how you and me have grown up. It's by practicing. You're
Yeah,
out in the world and you have to talk to people and you learn how to do it and how to be yourself and all stuff. Kids these days don't get practice. They have no practice because what are you going to do? You're going to talking on the phone doesn't help you learn how to connect with people in person. And then they go to high school and every friend they have is on a phone and talking through phones. Where do they have this opportunity to just practice and learn, and make mistakes or be awkward or whatever it is and just be okay with who they are. And so I find so much like my nieces and nephews are my best friends in the world and I do all this for them. And I find them so often, I'm like the uncle that's getting them out of their comfort zone and out in the world to just have fun and be a part of it. And they always tell me how much they love to do this, but they have no one that does these things with them, and because with full respect to parents, it's a hard job, but a lot, you could put a kid on the screen rather than teaching a kid how to sit in conversation. But I just worry about where that takes us as a society.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I know I have a 3-year-old grandson now, and I'm like, I cannot believe what kind of world
Yeah.
that we've given him. So I
Yeah.
I hope
That's
hope I
tough.
have a few more years to influence him a little bit, and he grows up in that. I know his parents will too because they're both cool. But
I do. It's really, I think, our responsibility, yours and the parent and mine, and all that. We grew up without this, and we know what we are able to see the good and the bad, the contrast between the two. There's no, it's not that everything's bad now or anything like that. It's just we
no,
know the other side of this, and so I think it's our responsibility to share it and help shine a light on that when we can.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had to, right? We didn't have phones and texting and stuff when we were growing up.
Hmm.
So we were actually forced, if you will. If you wanted to talk to somebody or have a conversation, you actually did it and you didn't text them.
Hmm.
Okay. So what does kindness mean to you now after years of meeting people from all walks of life? Did you learn anything? Have you changed? Has your impression changed?
I would say that kindness, and what I've learned in the whole world, is service always, and giving service to those who have nothing to offer you. And many of the times where that kindness comes the most now is in service of your time, of
Yeah.
giving your time to allow someone else to be seen and to spend time with them, but really to offer support, to offer perspective, or to just sit with someone. And right now, it feels like no one has any time, but we do. Of course, we have time, and I
Sure.
think that kindness comes in sacrificing what we can to offer the support and love to those that are around us.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's you can talk about paying it forward or buying coffees, but I think it really boils down to something as simple as being available, making yourself available physically, mentally, whatever the case may be, to listen to another human being. I
Hmm.
think that's probably the greatest kindness
Hmm.
that we can give.
Hmm. And it doesn't take that much more than that. You don't have to have the perfect thing to say. You don't have to have the right solutions. You literally can just give time to someone, intentional time. And the larger majority of the time, that's all people need.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so last question for you. How can our listeners support your projects? You're not still traveling the world, right?
Yeah, we still do. We're now
Oh, do you?
bringing Monday night dinners. We're teaching a lot of different countries. We're giving them Monday night dinners for free, obviously, and
Oh,
going and doing it. And then we leave each community with the dinners so that they can stay connected after we leave. So we're going to Mexico City in January, then we're going to Japan in April.
oh,
One
wow.
of the fastest declining populations in the world, or the fastest declining population in the world. And we're not trying to change anything. We're not trying to
Yeah,
impose our culture or anything like that. We're really just like what we've always done. We just create space and then allow that to bring people together however they want to come. And we don't make any money from it, and we give it all back.
sure.
I would say the best way to support is just to I mean, start your own Monday night dinner. Doesn't even have to be a Monday night dinner. I really think the only, it could be anything of all of in your community or your neighborhood to say hello to your neighbors and say hello to a stranger. And if you're able to invite a stranger to have dinner with you, invite a few people to have dinner in a backyard or a barbecue. I would think that'd be the most thing. And the books are for sale on the website. 100% of that money goes back to the project also. And we'll do a hand signed book to all that. And then we have the second book that's going to be coming out and the show that will be coming out. And so to watch those and to be a part of those. But above all, we don't need any of that. We started this and continue this just so that the world can bring themselves closer together also. And we just want to share that and allow other people to. So anyone can reach out to me directly on the website where we'll offer for free everything that we've learned about how to do this, and also willing to help in any way we can.
That's so cool. I can't even wrap my head around everything that you're doing, and you're making such a positive difference in the world with what you're doing here.
Thanks,
Um,
Mike.
and I want to say thank you for it.
My pleasure. I want to make sure to say I 100% need it just as much as anyone else. I continue them because I also still need them too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel that because my mental health has gone through the roof
Mm,
just in the 3 years that I've been doing this podcast.
mm,
I know where you're coming from with that.
yeah, it's a
So,
beautiful.
thanks for taking the time today, Adam. I really appreciate it,
Thank
and,
you, Mike.
um, I wish you the best of luck going forward.
Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate you using your platform and spotlight to help us put a light on this project that helps us bring the world closer together. I really mean that.
The pleasure was all mine, sir. Take
Cool.
care, and
Happy
we will talk
holidays.
soon. Yeah, you too.
Look forward to it. Take care, Mike.
Human first, before the names, before the labels, before the blame.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Kindness Matters podcast with my guest, Adam Schluter. I hope this episode left you feeling a little easier, a little more hopeful about the state of the world that we all share. If strangers can come together in another stranger's home for dinner every day, maybe there's hope for you and I to be able to work things out, to find some common ground and lead to a little more kindness in the world. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to tell your friends, family, and coworkers about us. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter for more uplifting content. It's free, and there's a link to sign up in the show notes. You have been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast. We will be back again next week with a brand new episode, and we would be honored if you would join us again. Until then, remember, kindness matters, and so do you.
In every heart, hold on tight through the world.